And welcome to part 3 of my Fall of Cybertron Combaticon video reviews. This time we're going to be looking at Transformers Fall of Cybertron Deluxe Class Brawl. And this guy's kind of in the middle for me in regards to the set. We've been working up from my least favorite to favorite figure. This guy's kind of in the middle for me. I don't think he does anything spectacularly good. He's a good figure. I'm not going to deny that, and he's certainly superior to the last two Combaticons that I've reviewed. But he's nothing particularly special in regards to the next two figures that I'll be reviewing, the order of which I won't reveal, since obviously that'll give away my favorite. But you know, I do think that he's a nice little figure. I mean, definitely one of the stronger Combaticons, but definitely not up there with my favorite two of the figures. Anyway, as you can see, he's a Cybertronian tank. Now, the one complaint I really have with this guy, I mean, it's really not the figure's fault. This is more a criticism of the in-game design model, is I really don't dig the concept of flying tanks. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like a stupid idea to me. I think that a tank should be a ground-based vehicle and not a flying tank. I realize that some people may really like that idea, some people may not, but I'm personally one of the people that doesn't think it's such a great idea. I think it's kind of dopey, but oh well. Anyway, there's not a whole lot to say about it. A lot of people have complained about the shade of green that they used on him. I actually quite like it. I think that the original release had too dark of a green on it, and the Takara version looked better, but I still think that the green was a bit too dark, so in my opinion, this is the best color scheme, which I know some people will think I'm crazy for, but that's just my personal opinion. I do really like the green on it. I also do really like the shade of silver that they used, especially on these thrusters. It looks really cool. It's not a particularly shiny silver, nor a particularly dark silver. It's definitely a darker shade of silver, but it's not really shiny, but it does really stick out. It's kind of hard to explain without seeing it in person, but it is a really striking silver color, and I hope that they do use it on future figures. I really do like it. I'm not really sure why they put these olive green details on him. It just looks really weird, and I don't know why they put them there, but oh, what can you do? He does have a rotating turret, which is nice. It rotates 360 degrees. You can get it to go up if you untab it from its base. That can be a little bit tricky. Like I said, you can, take that off. You can get it to rotate up. You can also, if you want, like a mortar cannon type thing, you can raise it up all the way, but I personally don't do that because I think it looks silly. I usually just leave it tabbed in, just to keep everything together. And as you saw, you can plug his robot mode weapon in. I would not recommend putting it down all the way because it is a little bit tricky to get out. There's no real way to get some really good grip on it, so you can't really get it out when it's pushed down all the way. I usually leave it pushed down halfway, and then I think it looks better anyway, but a word of forewarning, if you do want to push the gun in all the way, it will be a little bit difficult to get out, but nothing stopping you from doing it, but I personally don't like to do it just because it is a little bit difficult, and I'd rather save myself the trouble. Anyway, that's about it for tank mode. To get to foot mode, what you want to do first is you want to take these pieces that are up at the front of the tank, you want to rotate them around. There's a hinge in the middle of the tank that allows them to rotate backwards. Do the same on this side. Then you want to take this turret piece, go ahead and take out his robot mode weapon. Probably should have done that first. Then what you want to do is you want to raise it up like so. Raise it all the way up, and then pull down on this hinge right here. And then right here, there's a little hook, and then there's a little slot carved out in the front of the tank. You want to manipulate it so that hook hooks under that little tab right there. Get it to tab in. Rotate this whole section around. Then you want to take the foot itself. You want to bend it down, and it's kind of hard to see. There's some slots on the back of the foot, and then there are some tabs sticking out from these back leg pieces, and you want to go ahead and manipulate it so that you can tab those tabs into the slot, and then rotate the combiner port all the way up. The instructions say to leave these thruster pieces down, which looks cool. I personally like to flip them all the way forward, just because I like it a little. I like the way it looks a little bit better. You don't have to do it; totally up to you. But that's the way I like to do it, so that's how I'm going to be showing it off in this review. And yeah, it's a foot mode. It doesn't really look spectacular in any way. It's a foot mode. There's really not a whole lot you can expect out of it. There's not a whole lot you can do to variate it. You can if you want. Like I said, you can flip these thrusters down. You can also, if you want, untab the foot from the back leg pieces so he can have a little bit more of a tilt in his stance. I personally wouldn't recommend doing it because it does cause him to be a little bit more unstable. He's not particularly stable on this foot. It seems to me like if they had built in a hinge piece to make a heel flip out, it would have been a lot better. I mean, it balances okay in most circumstances, but if you're trying to get him into an action pose, this foot can be a little bit difficult to manipulate, but oh well. It's still there, and it's still a pretty nice foot mode. I can't complain about it too much because it is just a foot mode, but whatever. So yeah, there's limb mode. Go ahead to transform them all the way back into robot mode. You can go ahead and leave these pieces up. Flip the combiner port all the way down. Actually, you don't want to do that. Go ahead and flip it all the way up because you're gonna leave it flipped up in robot mode anyway. Then you want to untab these pieces from the back of the foot. Go ahead and collapse the turret assembly back like it was in tank mode. Then what you want to do is you want to take his legs, and what you want to do is you want to bend the foot down, or bend the leg down rather. You want to bend the leg down to untab it. It's built in such a way that it has to be tabbed in at an angle. I'm going to undo it. You bend it down, and then you want to rotate the legs all the way down. Spin them around at the upper thigh. Go ahead and flip out his heels. Do the same on this side. Go ahead, flip out this other heel if you can get it. It is a little bit tricky. There we go. And get him to get the legs straightened out. Then with his arms, what you want to do is you want to rotate them back like they were in tank mode. Then you want to take his arm. You want to untab it and bring it down. Rotate it around and flip out the wrist. Do the same on this side. Untab it, rotate it around, and flip out the wrist. Then you want to take his head and you want to push it up, and then you want to keep pushing it up until his head flips all the way up. And I was originally afraid that with that kind of mechanism to get the head out, there was a chance that you could get the head stuck under this piece and not be able to get it out very easily. Luckily, that isn't a concern because of the way that it's designed, the head actually hits a piece in the chest. So there's no way that you can actually push it down unless you're really forcing it, which I think was really nice. That could have been a real problem, but they went ahead and did something really simple to fix it. I think that's great. And then you can, if you want, rotate these barrel pieces around. Personally, to me, it doesn't matter too much, but I usually go ahead and flip them around just because you can. And then go ahead and give him his gun. And there you have Brawl in robot mode. It looks pretty cool. Like I said, nothing really super spectacular, but still a pretty decent looking little figure. I do really like the head sculpt. It is a very Brawl-esque head sculpt. I do kind of wish that they had painted the eyes red, just because I think that Brawl, being as angry as he is, should have red eyes, but the yellow looks pretty good too. A lot of people have complained about his stability. He is, I will admit, probably the least well-balanced of all the figures in the set, at least in robot mode. Vehicle mode and limb mode, he's pretty solid. But yeah, he is a little bit less stable than the rest of the figures, mostly because he doesn't have a heel joint proper. He does technically have a heel. There are these pieces that are sticking out, but they're pretty small. And since the feet on most of the figures end up being pretty loose, it's really difficult to make him stand in some poses. I found that if you lean him forward a little bit, it does tend to help balance him out. And also, the feet are the legs are pretty much designed to be locked in so that they locked in one position so that you can get him to stand by resting him on the inside of his legs, which is kind of a shame, but really, there's not a whole lot of posability in this figure anyway, so, you can't do a whole lot of stuff with it, so I guess I can't really complain too much. But yeah, he is a little bit less stable than the other figures, but it is manageable. It's not a figure-ruining factor, if you ask me. For articulation, his head is on a ball joint, and it's fairly free, especially compared to the rest of the Combaticons. He probably has the most articulate head. Unfortunately, just due to the way that his body is designed, you can only rotate his head left and right so far before it just ends up looking stupid, which is a bit of a shame, but what are you going to do? He does rotate at the shoulders. It's a little bit awkward because they are cut at an angle, so if you flip them up too much, his arm automatically does bend inward, which is a bit of a shame, but what are you going to do? He also does have this hinge here just due to transformation. He rotates at the upper bicep, He bends at the elbow. His elbow's on a ball joint, as you can also rotate it around in all sorts of positions. His wrists go up and down, but not a whole lot of use there. He does have ball jointed hips. They can rotate in and out. They can't really go back and forth too much, just because of the way that his back is designed. But it's okay. I mean, it's manageable. He does rotate at the upper thigh, which is nice. He bends at the knee, and like I said, the feet are on hinges, but they're really not that useful since, like I said, the legs are pretty much cut at an angle, so you pretty much have to make him stand in one position. Which, like I said, he doesn't have that great articulation, but, you know, what can you do? So anyway, for a standard size comparison, here he is next to Revenge of the Fallen Deluxe Class Bumblebee. And you can see he is a little bit smaller at the head, with his gum pieces sticking out of his back. He's just about the same size as Bumblebee if you count his wings on the back. But he is a little bit small at the head, which I know might bother some people, but personally I've always thought of Brawl as a mean, angry brute. So I've always imagined him kind of being squat like mean, angry brutes tend to be. So I don't really mind it too much. It might bother some people, but it doesn't really bother me. So yeah, there you go. I look at Transformers Fall of Cybertron Deluxe Class Brawl. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.